Okay, let's call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the South Tahoe Public Utility District Board of Directors. If you'll stand and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and do we have any audience members? Any comments from the audience? Does not appear so. And do we have any corrections or additions to the agenda or the consent calendar? So actually, we do have a proposed item to be added to the agenda under action, item 6D, the Department of Energy Connected Communities Grant. This item was brought to the board's attention after the agenda posted and is time sensitive with a deadline of March 2nd before the next regular board meeting on March 4th, 2021. This item requires a 4-5 vote of the board in order to be added to the agenda. Does anybody have any questions or?
I'll move approval of the addition of that item to the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. President Sheehan,
Yes.
Director Cephalou,
Yes.
Director Ramzos,
Yes.
Director Peterson,
Yes.
Director Exline.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimous.
Okay, so that is added. And then do we have a motion for adoption of the consent calendar?
I'll move adoption of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. President Sheehan,
Yes.
Director Cephalou,
Yes.
Director Ramzos,
Yes.
Director Peterson,
Yes.
Director Exline.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimous.
Okay, so we will move on to item 6A, purchase of a 2022 Western Star 4700 chassis dump truck, and that is Cliff.
Good afternoon. What I'm proposing here is to replace one of our older dump trucks with a new one. Some of you might not know it, but California has enforced their resources board to retrofit or replace our heavier vehicles. It's not just us, it's throughout the state. This one we have now is a 2006 Peterbilt, which is in fine shape. And we're going to propose to take it to Alpine County and let it finish its life down there because I can run it under a low hours rating on that. Now, the one down in Alpine County that we will actually be replacing is a 1995 International dump truck, which is well past its due date to be replaced. It needed to be replaced in January 1 of 2016. So, you know, and with this, going through the National Auto Fleet Group, which is, we went through for our prior purchase of one of these trucks to replace it. We've had very good luck with it. They are with, oh, I can't remember the name of this company now. I always forget it. But anyway, the Sourcewell contract, which Sourcewell is what we've been using to buy our equipment for the past several years, is competitively bid as a state type bid. Is a nationwide contract that is developed just for government and educational entities, and we've used it very successfully doing it this way, and we'd like to continue on with this, go forward with this. So if you have any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Cliff?
Hi, Cliff. I apologize. I got kicked off of my computer. What were some of the efficiency gains achieved through, or I guess I wouldn't say achieved, what were the efficiency gains mandated by the Air Quality Control Board? I guess just kind of a thought as, you know, obviously to this project, but then as we kind of develop our kind of fleet replacement strategy down the road.
The efficiency gains are very minimal with these large trucks. It's the pollution gains we get from the newer trucks are a much cleaner vehicle. Our older trucks use older technology. We all have retrofitted those older trucks with a digital particulate filter. By the truck I'm proposing to use, the 2006 Peterbilt, which I plan on hanging on to for until California enacts their electric fleet, and also until the technology catches up to fleet vehicles. When we'll be going to electric or different clean type vehicle. But what it is they wanted to have the DPF filter installed by the let's see, that was January 2012, which we had done, and then 2016 is when they wanted the engine replaced with something 2010 newer, which met the higher emission standards. The problem with doing that is you're taking an old mechanical truck and putting a whole lot of electronics in it, and it just doesn't work very well. From several different the people I've talked to that have done, and also the people that do it at dealerships. So basically, what I'm trying to do is, by California is mandated, I think it's 2040, that government entities such as us and state of California, counties, state, cities and such, to be 100% renewable or electric EV type vehicles. By then, the technology for these larger vehicles should have caught up by then, and will be transferring back over to that sort of a process.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just, are you aware of any electric dump trucks that exist now on the market? And just out of curiosity.
No, sir, I'm not. I was reading Volvo has come out and is offering full electric trucks in Europe, and some light construction trucks. The thing is, well, the dump truck's going to be probably the first thing they're going to be able to electrify for construction, as it's a very simple type truck. It's just basically a truck chassis with a dump box. You don't need a whole lot of power to run the hydraulic PTO to operate the dump box. Where it's going to get complicated is like on our VACCONs and our sewer cleaner trucks that require quite a bit of horsepower to run the hydraulic pumps, to run the hydraulic motors, to run everything. Those, I imagine, are going to be some sort of a hybrid type truck coming out at some point. But right now, the hard part, it's really kind of frustrating, is because there's so many areas in the district that we could use, you know, the smaller electric trucks and whatnot, but they just haven't brought them down to the level of fleet vehicles yet. Everything is, you know, like the Tesla and the Hummers and the electric trucks coming out like that. It's all the higher end, you know, luxury trucks. So Ford next year is supposed to bring out an electric and a plug-in hybrid or a plug-in electric vehicle pickup in their F-150 series, which is their small half tons, which I'm excited about. So I'm holding off on all the smaller trucks for some time until I see how things work out on this.
No, thank you so much. I think that's a very wise course of action. I tend to think you're right. Like, you know, watching the Ford F-150 being the example coming out next year. And then thank you again for the dump trucks. You know, just those type of vehicles I don't come across as frequently. So I was just curious as to what you were encountering.
Yes, these dump trucks that we've bought in the last couple of years, you know, and even the 2006, they should be able to go, you know, 20, 30 years. Now we're going to outlive our time on the emissions table on that end, but you know, these actually, I won't be here, but actually these will probably be the last diesel fueled large vehicles that we'll be buying for the district at this moment. The other ones that we have, I still have 3 others that are not qualified for the replacement, but I'm holding off on those ones as long as I possible until, you know, somebody says we have to get rid of them or there's an electric alternative for them. And I've got those ones registered for 200 hours or below with the state, and that's their break-off point. Anything above 200 hours a year, they want replaced. So,
okay. No, I think that's great. I think that's a perfect course of action. So no, thank you so much for the update.
yes.
How many hours a year do you put on your dump trucks?
The dump trucks, they don't go by hours so much. We get about anywhere between 150 to 250 hours, depending on if we have large projects going and so forth. The trucks that's going to go to our Alpine County facility, it usually gets very little use around the ranch and whatnot, so it's very easy to keep that one under 200 hours. It's just the occasional run to the Bings to pick up material and stuff like that.
And I guess from an economic comparison, either renting one as needed or hiring a owner operator to do your occasional hauling versus buying one for $172,000. How have you run the numbers and for either renting or hiring out owner operators?
We have rented dump trucks in the past, nothing as of late, last several years. They tend to run, to lease a truck, they tend to run about 16 to 17,000 a month. Up here, the owner operators, there's really not that many of them we'd have to hire out of, most likely out of Carson City or Reno. Most of the private ones up here they have dried up because it's very hard in California anymore to be a small business and run these large trucks. And to have a driver, you know, on standby for late night water leaks and so forth. This new truck will be up here and we'll be sending our older one down to DVR for now.
I think what Dave is asking Cliff is why do we need one down in DVR if you're just going to get some Bing deliveries of gravel or here and there, you know, and why couldn't you sell that one and to another state that doesn't have the same emission requirements, and then just have the one that you got up here because you have to, and then keep the old one down there and maybe turn that other one over. Sounds like it's got a lot of life left.
Well, the one I'm going to send down there, it does have a lot of life left. And the one that's down there now, we are going to put it up for auction. I had very good luck with the last round of auctions that we've done with our larger trucks. And I believe we brought in a little over $100,000 for the 4 of them. And this one will garner quite a bit of money too, the one we'll be selling. The problem with having Bings deliver is no problem. It just costs a little bit more. But they use that dump truck around the ranch when they're cleaning the ditches and everything to load it up and take it over to their spoils piles and everything like that. So it is a useful piece of equipment to have down there.
Any other questions or comments? You have a
That's what
motion?
I'm hearing is that, at least from Chris and Dave, it's sounding like perhaps put both of those dump trucks on the auction block and then, I mean, I don't know, I guess I just want to understand like how it would impact the operations at DVR if you didn't have one down there, if we had to rent one out.
Well, we really should have somebody from DVR to explain that for me. I'm just looking at it as a mechanical and the standpoint from that. Possibly they could get away with this little one they have down there. But they are expanding and as with any farm or ranch, there's times where you need a dump truck to move material from one side of the ranch to the other and so forth and so on. So as of how much it gets used, it's not a whole lot down there, I'll be honest with you. But it's also nice to be able just to jump in one if you need one.
So here's an idea. I just thought, I think the need for this one to be used in the basin, this is used, the one that's slated for purchase through Sourcewell. I mean, that's used almost every day or every other day here by our crews on site. So I think the need for this new one is evident. What I can do is I'll get with Jim and we'll look at what the salvage value of this replacement vehicle would be, and just see if it's worth keeping, or if we should put it on the auction and just rent or have deliveries in the future for DVR. How's that sound?
That's a good idea.
I have no problem with that. It's one of those things that they might be able to get away with just running or leasing one for the summertime, because I don't know how much they use it during the winter. So that would be something that we could look at for sure. I just don't want to be speaking for Diamond Valley. They know more about what they use. I just keep their stuff going.
I think I think the analysis we're looking for is what's the 2006 worth, and is it worth keeping a DVR, or is it better off just to occasionally use the 95, keep it on the site there because it's still running? I know it needs to be replaced, but it could last a lot longer. That's kind of the question, right? Like, how much is that 2006 worth on a trade or an auction?
Well,
and then we can make a decision.
The 2006, it's in very good condition. It has very low miles for its age and very low use. I'd imagine that we could probably clear 25 to 30,000 out of it. And with truck 8, the one down at Diamond Valley, that one has a trailer that goes along with it. So it's actually got 2 dump beds. The trailer is what they call a pup, which is a shorter trailer than what you would see around town, the slam bangs they call them. And that one too, other than its age, is in fairly good condition also. It's got its issues. The 95 was the first year of electronic motors, and so it's got its issues on that end of it. But other than that, we could probably get a pretty good sale out of that one also.
You kind of answered my question. I mean, if a 2006 only worth 25 grand, then maybe my question is not so necessary, because if it was worth 75 or 50 or 75, it'd be a different story. But I don't know that it'd be worth worrying about it for 25.
Yeah, it's hard saying. The last auction we had one person came in and bought 3 of our vehicles, and then the other vehicles, we had some of our older equipment. Another person from Idaho came and bought them all up. So it's a crapshoot when it comes to the auctions and auction and things off. It depends what the market is demanding at that time.
Cliff, on those auctions, can we set a minimum, or are we pretty much taking what we get that day?
No, I set a minimum on them. I start checking before any auction, and before we put them up for auction, I'll start watching the auction or two and see what things are going for. I know what sort of shape these trucks are in very well, and I can set a good honest price on them. And usually so far, knock on wood, they've been going for more than what I've set. So either I'm off or it's just the demand at the time.
Okay, well, whether it's 25 or 30 grand, whatever it is, I'll ask Jim the question, and we'll do an analysis on the salvage value. And
yeah, if they don't need it as much as I don't have a problem letting it go.
sure, yeah, we'll check. I'll check.
I just don't want to speak for them, and then cut them out of the vehicle.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm
Very
okay
good.
with what you gave us so far.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve the exception to competitive bidding and approve the purchase of the vehicle.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. President Sheehan,
Yes.
Director Cefalu,
Yes.
Director Ramzos,
Yes.
Director Peterson,
Yes.
Director Exline.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff.
Thanks, Cliff.
Take care.
Okay, that moves us to 6B, electronic signature ordinance, and that's Mr. Bledsoe.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. Mr. Skelly, IT Manager, is going to present it today. Yeah, Tim requested that I step in and present for him today. As the agenda item in front of you states, district staff is requesting that the board adopt the proposed ordinance to allow for the use of digital signatures in place of physical ink signatures. This technology is a proven robust solution, and by adopting the ordinance to allow electronic signatures, staff will be able to provide a more streamlined and efficient form or application process for both the public and internal staff. So with that said, I'd like to answer any questions the board has on the agenda item.
No questions for me.
No questions, but I just say, to the staff reports discussion, I mean, electronic signatures are fantastic. So yeah, gotta have it.
Welcome to the 21st century. Good stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, so are there limitations to what type of documents would be used? Would be, for instance, are contracts part of this policy?
They could be. So really depends on which PDFs we want to publish through the Adobe Sign portal and request signatures for. And there's 2 ways of doing that. You can either publish them and request a signature, or put them out on like a website and it's user initiated, so the customer can initiate that signature process. The only real restriction we have right now is the number of users we're buying licenses for.
All right, I'm just a little sensitive. On another board that I'm on, we did have an incident where a staff member attached an electronic signature of the board president, and after the item was passed in the board meeting, but the board president didn't authorize the use of the signature. It was felt by the staffer that it was implied by the passing of the item, but after the fact, the board president objected because he hadn't actually seen the document, hadn't read all the details of the document. And so anyway, I guess I'm a little sensitive on contracts. And when the board president is signing something, I think it's different than if a manager is signing something.
Yeah, so Dave, if I can speak to that, the way that I've been signing like invoices and stuff, I do pretty much the same thing. I'll paste a scanned image of my signature over that invoice. The way that why we're going after this technology in particular is it actually offers a two-factor authentication step where it actually checks to make sure the person signing the document is actually who they say they are. So it's not just like a copy of the signature or something like that.
So this is a DocuSign type of a process.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay, I'm good then.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, this is Gary. I just wanted to add one more comment to Dave's question. There are some documents that require wet signatures. Examples are documents that are recorded. So there will be some documents that this process cannot be used. But the way the ordinance is set up is general manager is in charge with determining the types of documents that this can be used on. And if others are going to be authorized to use electronic signatures, that has to be put into a written format, so we can track who's got authority to sign what.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess the other thing I'd say about DocuSign, I'm actually going through a real estate transaction right now where there's like 100 DocuSigns I think I've gone through, and you tend to get kind of complacent and not read the whole thing. You just kind of, it skips you to where your signature is required on signature blocks, and it's very convenient, very fast, but it allows the user to be a little bit lazy about what they're signing. So I guess I think it's okay to authorize that it be used because sometimes it's really necessary, but we should try to use wet signatures if we can, if we have the time. Okay.
Do we have a motion?
Chris, would you like to read the motion?
I
Sure.
will.
Chris Skelly,
Oh, Chris.
I'm sorry.
I was going to be like, I don't have my agenda sitting in front of me, but yeah, that's fine.
Staff is requesting the board approve ordinance number 579-21 to permit the South Tahoe Public Utility District to utilize electronic signatures.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Cefalu and a second by Ramzos, if I have that correctly. President Sheehan,
Yes.
Director Cefalu,
Yes.
Director Ramzos,
Yes.
Director Peterson,
Yes.
Director Exline.
Yes.
And that motion passes, and thank you, Director Cefalu, for obliging.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks so much.
Okay, that moves us to payment of claims. I will move approval of payment of claims in the amount of $1,704,090.44.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. President Sheehan,
Yes.
Director Cefalu,
Yes.
Director Ramzos,
Yes.
Director Peterson,
Yes.
Director Exline.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimous.
Okay, That moves us to 6D, John, the Department of Energy Connected Communities Grant.
Yes, thank you, and thanks for adding this item today. This is really just a continuation of my January 7th item regarding the Department of Energy grant opportunity. And if you recall that item, that was in regards to an initial submittal to the Department of Energy of a concept paper. And this was, we completed this with the partnership, sent it in to the DOE, and it was well received. So they invited us to submit a full application, a formal grant application. So that's good news. And also they want it by March 2nd. So we plan to work with the city and our community partners on completing that by March 2nd. And I provided more detail on the write-up, but I might add that this grant would fund a few things locally, and including an energy management position at the city. And this position would help us internally at the district for our energy efficiency, electric vehicles, sustainable energy efforts, all of which have been taking up a lot of our staff time, engineering time. And I think this position could help us also on the grant side to find grants for these various elements moving forward. So I think that's a real positive. And I talked to Lynn. Lynn estimates our grant staff will contribute probably about 5 hours to the submittal effort in the next couple of weeks, well, up until March 2nd. So that seems like it's certainly worth putting in that amount of time. And with your approval today, we will do so. So again, more details in the write-up. Any questions or comments before I read the requested board action?
Okay, so the actual grant application is due on March 2nd, you said?
Yes.
Correct? And that includes the kind of the full breadth and scope of what we'd be proposing under that?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I thought we had more time on that.
Not for this round. I mean, I think this is coming out every year.
Okay.
So the project, okay.
No, I just, yeah, I don't want to take much of the board's time on this, but seems like we got to get our ducks in a row on kind of what we want to get out of this thing. At least for STPUD.
Yeah, for the project's anticipated includes improvements at Sugar Pine Village, the affordable housing project, and also a microgrid at the city. And this energy management position at the city is probably the big component for the district for this round.
Okay. So the district isn't really getting a whole lot out of it, or do we want to make sure that we, get some items in there that'll benefit the district itself? Outside of the manager position.
I guess where I'd step in, Shane. Oh, sorry.
Hey, Nick is on mute, or I'm not hearing him.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. The benefit to some degree in the long run is, kind of to John's earlier points, but then also this is helping kind of other players involved with us as they develop their own microgrids. So as we talked about redundancy and some other things at previous board meetings, and again, not taking too much board time, but this is really starting to lay the pieces for all that as well. So our future redundancy is going to be benefited tremendously by the awarding of this grant.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just was hoping that we would get maybe some analysis of a more efficient water delivery system, something that the district might be able to benefit out of this. And it seems like there might be sufficient funds in there. But again, I'm not going to hold this thing up, and I don't want to carry on the conversation, full board style. But I think definitely like to take it offline, just better appreciate the scope of what we'll be putting forward in the grant.
Sure, I think I would add that energy position would help us bring the details of those additional future projects forward for the next round.
Okay.
I guess I'm supportive of the grant. Certainly planning and investigating these things is a good thing. I'm very nervous about any actions that would reduce our reliability. And when you put together an electric grid, it's got to be for the one day. It's got to be for that one really bad day. And most of the time you coast through it, but they're finding in Texas right now what happens when you aren't reliable, and it's a very bad thing. So we're running a utility, and this thing's got to run all the time. So I'm going to be very as we go into implementation, I guess I'm going to challenge the staff to really make sure that any changes that we're looking at, any new microgrids or anything else are going to continue to function every day, every hour.
I think we're all on the same page with that, Dave.
Okay, thank you.
We can't afford to fail. That's the way I think.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I would just quickly note that Texas is run 90% on fossil fuels. So the failure was as a result of the redundant systems within fossil fuels. I think that's important to note.
Well, there's different ways of phrasing that. When your redundancy is a full backup by fossil fuels because your renewables can't be counted on to actually run all the time, then what good are the renewables actually doing you? You have to have full backup capacity with fossil fuels, full staffing, full O&M every day to keep those things ready and ready to spool up in a moment. To me, it doesn't. I don't see the wisdom of implementing a system that you can't rely on.
I guess to that point, what I would say is, as we speak about redundancy, we have to talk about redundant systems. And I would pull this kind of from a sewer water district to talk about just the trappings of elongated distribution systems, especially in the default of natural disaster. Oftentimes what you're seeing in Texas is the drawback of those elongated systems. The whole goal of this grant system meets the redundancy is to remove those elongated systems and provide the most redundant, secure system possible. And so I think to your point, Dave, I think as we go forward, I think you're going to be very excited with the redundancy and how this all pans out. But no, I share your concerns, and I really appreciate you sharing those.
Very good. Thank you. So I guess, John, you're looking for a motion to approve the preparation of the grant, the full application. Is that correct?
Yes, if there's no more questions or comments, requested board action is to authorize the district to join the city of South Lake Tahoe and other community partners in the submittal of an application to the Department of Energy for a potential Connected Communities grant.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. President Sheehan,
Yes.
Director Cephalou,
Yes.
Director Ramzos,
Yes.
Director Peterson,
Yes.
Director Exline.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, that moves us to item 7, standing ad hoc committees and liaison reports. And we've actually formed a new ad hoc committee, the Solar Ad Hoc Committee, and I have appointed with their consent Shane Ramses and Nick to be on that committee. Do you guys have anything you'd like to add to that?
I hate solar. I don't want to be on it.
Yeah.
No, I guess for me, I think this is a good opportunity to really work through the details of the system at the district, and give us an opportunity to really kind of flesh it out before it comes back to the board. We want to make sure that we get all of our T's crossed and I's dotted and all that kind of stuff, and put forward a package that makes sense in terms of dollars and cents and addresses concerns in terms of reliability, resilience, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm really glad that you guys put the committee together. I think it's important that we kind of work through the details before it comes back to the board.
And we appreciate you doing that for us.
Shane's always looking for more committees.
Yeah.
You got your running, bud.
No, we actually had a nice talk at the efficiency committee meeting about, why we were having these kind of sausage making conversations in front of the whole board. And so kind of to Shane's point was like, this doesn't make any sense at all. It's just kind of sucking away everybody's time.
I'll give a brief report. Operations Committee met a couple days ago, Tuesday, and we went through 30 or 40 projects, just a lot of details about the projects. Staff at South Tahoe PUD is very busy, has a lot of things ongoing at any one time, and one of the more we closed out the meeting with kind of a discussion of just how detailed the operations committee should be going into each project. And I guess where we landed on that was that perhaps a more high level touchdown on each of these projects is more in order. As interesting as the engineering details are, we should probably stick to things that really are key for the board to understand, things that involve a big public aspect or cost aspect, a legal aspect, those types of things that the board members really need to understand so that we can bring it to your attention, in this type of a report. But that type of information oftentimes gets lost in a 3-hour meeting or something. So I think in the future, we'll probably look at a little bit shorter meetings, concentrating on those key touch points that Shane and I need to understand. Shane, your thoughts?
No, I think that's right. As I'm new to the board, new to water districts, I kind of appreciate, I guess, the level of detail, but I totally understand where we're going with it in terms of kind of really boiling it down to those those projects that really elevate in terms of any kind of environmental review or cost considerations or anything that's going to get sticky, in terms of decision making. So I'm totally on board with that, and I'm gonna appreciate getting an hour or two back my day.
All right.
I think I might have to object that they're reducing the length of the ops meetings after I'm off, Dave. I think this is a bit suspect. I'm not a conspiracy person, but I'm just throwing it out.
We've all paid our dues on that committee. So. It took these two to be smart enough to.
We did have our first efficiency committee meeting. Shane and I, with John and Shelley and Ryan, were able to join. A lot of the things we've just touched on, already, so I won't take a lot of time. I think what was really interesting, kind of from my perspective, of things I wasn't as detailed with, is kind of the environmental education piece of the district, and how tying, some of the things we're talking about now, whether it be changing out to EVs or solar or what have you, and tying that to those ongoing education efforts. So I thought that was very interesting, and I look forward to seeing where it goes. So I don't know, Shane, if you have anything to add.
No, I think it's a good committee. We can kind of work through kind of where the district's going in terms of its sustainability efforts. What is it doing for the community? What's it doing for the environment? What's it doing to save ratepayers dollars? That kind of thing. So again, it was our first meeting, so it was just kind of trying to flesh out kind of a standing agenda and kind of the areas that we'd cover. One of the items we thought it would be a good place to dig into was any kind of grants that might be available to help support any kind of sustainability type initiatives. So again, trying to find alternative revenue to support the district's operation. So it's not, leaning on ratepayer dollars, but it's, hopefully a lot of the things that we do are kind of grant funded. So I definitely want to kind of look into that side of it as part of the committee. But ultimately, I think it's a good opportunity really to start to really identify what are the metrics we're going to be using to measure the district's efforts to improve efficiency, to improve cost savings to the ratepayer, et cetera. So I think it's going to be a worthy committee that I think it's going to generate some good stuff for the district.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to board member reports. Do we have any board member reports?
I do. I don't think we've talked about this. Perhaps in prior boards, they've talked about security, and I'm talking about network security here. There was just this last week, there was a hacking incident. Perhaps you read it in the paper. Oldsmar, Florida, a relatively small community in Pinellas County, was hacked, and the operator at the console watched his mouse be taken over, and it went over and clicked on the lie dosage and increased it by like 1,000%. And the operator was able to put a stop to it before it became a public health emergency. But it underscores that nefarious users are now starting to enter the realm of water utilities. So I'm not sure where we're at, but I think we should probably agendize this and talk about it at some point.
Yeah, I heard about that too. Thank you for bringing it up.
And we also did hear about that, and Chris Skelly, our IT manager, forwarded that information around to us. And we can definitely set something like that for the board to have our IT department provide a security update, because they're the ones working it every day.
Right.
Yeah, and if that it's a sensitive subject, I understand that should be able to be discussed in closed session, but as a board member, I would like to understand what we have done or what measures we've taken to not be the victim of that.
Sure.
Yeah, this is Gary. Yeah, I think you're permitted to have a closed session to discuss security issues, and we can verify that, but that's not something we'd want to have discussion in open session.
Very good. Thank you. That's all for me, Kelly.
Okay. Anybody else?
Just to report that I participated in the Employee Communication Committee yesterday. I don't know if that's a board report or I think it's more of a committee, but it was just a good opportunity to introduce myself and get to know some of the employees. So it was a good opportunity. I don't know who's next, but it should be fun. Hopefully it'll be live.
This was a good time to bring that up. Perfect.
The breakfast burritos are nice when it's live, I'm going to tell you.
I know.
I missed out on that.
Like you missed out on those chorizo burritos. I'm telling you, not bad a way to start your day.
And just to quickly answer your question, Director Cephalou is up next for ECC, and that is on April 14th.
Thank you for telling me.
You're welcome.
Okay, El Dorado Water Agency.
Yes, we met, the board met on February 10th by WebEx, and it was really an organizational meeting. The entire board is new except for one person that's carried over, and that's Lori Parlin. She's a board of supervisor, and so she was elected chair, as luck would have it, and I was elected vice chair of the organization. Basically, the only thing I guess that's relevant here is they are maintaining a GIS, geographic information system, and they're taking information from agencies such as us and then putting it on a centralized database. They wanted money to some additional money to keep updating that, and I guess I'm a little bit questionable just how much that benefits us when we're providing all the data and all the updates for our area. But I guess to the extent that others need a countywide look at water resources, then there's probably an advantage to having it all in one place. So anyway, they are taking our information. Our staff is cooperating with them on those updates.
Thank you, Dave, for representing us.
Certainly. John, did you have anything to add there? Anything that I missed there?
I think that's pretty much it. I know our GIS analyst, Jim Kelly, coordinates with the county quite a bit. And I will follow up with Jim and get a feel for whether he feels like we're getting benefits from those type of expenditures by the water agency.
Right. Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay. So I guess that takes us to general manager report.
Okay, I've got a couple items today, starting out with staffing. We have 2 new workers starting out at DVR next week. Joel Goligoski, who comes to us from Kingsbury GID, over 11 years experience there. And Dustin Goralski, he most recently spent the last 2 summers with the district as a seasonal employee in underground repair water and underground repair sewer. Also, we have a new accounting supervisor, and he will be starting next week as well. Greg Dupree, who's coming to us from Lake Tahoe Community College. We will have a little bit of crossover with Greg and Teresa Sherman, who's our current accounting supervisor, and she'll be leaving us pretty much next week after almost 17 years with the district. And HR analyst interviews next Tuesday. And we also have a new opening for a customer service rep. We plan on advertising next week for that position. So that's a little staffing update for you. Next, of course, let's have a little COVID update. And so today we now have 3 employees out right now with COVID. And all of these came forward in just the last week. Actually, the 3rd one just, in fact, we heard about yesterday. And overall, looking back 11 months when this all began, to date, really only 7 cases among district employees. And as far as we know, and we're pretty confident, none of these were contracted or spread at the district. So I think in El Dorado County and locally, generally declining cases and declining positivity rates in the county. We, of course, remain in that purple tier. And those new cases per 100,000, that's the number that's really keeping us in that purple tier. And it looks like we'll be there for at least another 2 to 4 weeks. Obviously, we'll see about that. And at this point at the district, I'd say we're probably waiting for the county to drop to that next lower tier, that red tier, before we consider making any adjustments in-house. Our split shifts and remote work right now really helped us in these recent cases especially. So our mitigation measures and our other procedures are really working. So internally, we remain at our own risk level 3, and this includes higher levels of remote work, mostly virtual meetings at 12-hour staggered shifts in the field crews, and our front office remains closed. And I would add that customer service remains fully responsive to all customer requests, plan reviews, and inspections. And as for vaccines, we're probably looking at May, plus or minus, before vaccines are widely available to water and wastewater workers. We're in that phase 1C, and which is unfortunate. I feel like vaccines would have, they'll really help us get back to normal sooner. So a little disappointed with the delays there. But so on that note, that's really all I have for the COVID update today. And the third item, connected communities, I was going to do an update, but that ended up getting pushed to the additional board item. So that's all I have for today, Kelly.
Okay, thanks, John. And it looks like we have a sewer system inspection annual update from Ryan Lee. Is Ryan there?
Good afternoon, I'm here. It looks like Brian's just getting me set up to be the presenter here.
Great.
And let's take a look. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, sorry about that. I'm trying to figure out which screen you're looking at.
Ryan, we were seeing the presenter view with your comments and stuff.
Got it. Okay. Let's see if I can fix that. Okay, can you see the screen now?
No.
I'm sorry about this. Okay, how about now?
There we go.
Main slide here.
Okay, sorry about the technical difficulties there. There's a new software we're using for this. Okay, good afternoon. I'm Ryan Lee, Asset Management Analyst, and today's presentation is to give you an update on the district's gravity mainline condition assessment program and provide the results of our latest round of data collection and analysis. Okay, I'll start with some general facts about the collection system and the goals that we've set for our CCTV condition assessment program. We have 312 miles of sewer mainline total, which adds up to right around 1.65 million linear feet of pipe. The vast majority of the collection system is composed of asbestos cement or vitrified clay pipe. Those two make up about 98% of our known pipe materials. So that's by far the majority. We have 312 pipes, or about 4.7% of the collection system, on the enhanced cleaning or EC list. These pipes all have known issues and are cleaned at a much more frequent schedule than most of the system, with the worst of those being cleaned monthly. In 2018, we kind of revitalized the CCTV inspection program and set a goal of inspecting 10% of the collection system per year and inspecting the entire collection system every 10 years. Our underground repair sewer crew typically performs inspections 5 days a week, weather permitting, and they are using the large CCTV truck for most of those. And we do have a newer portable camera system that they can use to access harder to reach pipes in meadows or easements. All of the inspections are coded according to the industry standard PACP pipeline assessment certification program. And that ensures that all the defects are coded consistently and lets us perform some pretty in-depth analysis on the kinds of defects we're seeing in these pipes. And our entire sewer crew is trained and certified in using that PACP standard. Okay. So here's a little bit of recent history on our inspection performance since we set that goal of inspecting 10% of the system per year in 2018. So that 10% of the system comes out to 165,000 linear feet of inspections. And you can see back in 2018 that we actually almost doubled that goal. And the reason for that is that there was a big push that year to collect as much data as we could to support the Proposition 218 rate increase process that was going on. So we really had a big push to get those inspections done, and that's how we achieved that number of 320,000 linear feet in 18. In 2019, we didn't quite meet the goal of 165,000, but we did come close. And then in 2020, you'll see quite a drop off in the inspections. We were off to a great start actually with a mild winter in 2020, and we'd inspected about 60,000 feet in January and February. And then once the COVID shifts hit in March, the inspections dropped off quite a bit, and we kind of prioritized our hydro cleaning program to keep those lines cleaned and maintained, and didn't have as much time to do inspections. The good news is that because of we had been a little ahead in 2018, we are still on track to meet our 10-year goal. So at this point, that goal would have required 495,000 feet of inspections, and we're at 531,000. That said, our goal for 2021 is to complete at least 165,000 linear feet of inspections, and our crew is back out performing inspections, and they're taking advantage of the mild winter this year to get to some of the harder to reach manholes on Highway 50. So we are making progress toward that goal, and we'll see when we can get them back on normal shifts and really pick up the pace there. Okay. And here's a map of inspections we've done over the past 10 years, just to kind of give some context on where we've been in the system. So you can see based on this that in 2018, when we did the most inspections of recent years, we kind of did them all over the place, and that comes back to that Proposition 218 process. We were really looking for a representative sample of the system so that we could make some extrapolations from that data and predictions on what we might see as requirements for maintaining the system in the future here. So the 2018 inspections were kind of all over the place. And then in 2019, we inspected around some known problem areas that we had. So you can see some of the recent projects that we had. We did a lot of inspection in 19 out around the Keys and in the Lukens area. We inspected all the pipes around the Apache area in Myers and Geronimo. And we did inspect around Larch area and other known issues that came up. And then in 2020, we had focused on inspecting around our upcoming water line replacement programs to see if there were any sewer projects that could be done at the same time as those. We also, you'll notice in 2020, inspected quite a bit around the burn area, and that was looking for inflow and infiltration that we had seen on our sewer flow monitors out in that area. We'd seen quite a few issues out there, and so out of those inspections we did find some laterals to vacant lots that we were able to cap off that made a little bit of a difference there. That will be a priority moving forward. We'll be focusing on those areas of known I. Okay, so the analysis that I wanted to present today includes a focus on 4 main types of defects that require rehab. So you can see those defect types here, along with the typical method of repair related to each type. So the 4 types of defects that we look at are point defects, and those are typically holes, fractures, surface damage in the pipe that's localized in the pipe. And the typical repair method for those is a 2 or 4 foot spot repair. And then we have root defects. The most common root defects that we see in our system are roots coming in from sewer laterals or coming in from joints in the main lines. Typically, we manage these root issues pretty well with a Root X herbicide, and that's just a chemical that the crew is able to put down the laterals. Mainly they do it on laterals. We do have some areas where we do entire main lines, but they can flush that herbicide down the laterals, and it's highly effective at managing these roots. If there's something real bad coming through the sidewall of a pipe, we can repair those with spot repairs as well. The third defect type is continuous defects. So these are continuous structural defects in the pipe, typically that have extended footage through the pipe. So the most common continuous defects we see in our system are multiple fractures or fractures extending multiple feet in the pipe, or extended issues with surface aggregate missing or other damage to the pipe walls. Typically, the appropriate rehab for those pipes is a full CIPP or cast in place pipe lining. And then the fourth and most serious defect that we see are the sag defects. So this would be a pipe that actually has a portion of it that sags down. And we see when we do the inspections, we can tell where these are based on changes in water level in the pipe or high water level in the pipe without evidence of anything causing a blockage. Typically is caused by a sag in that pipe. These cannot be fixed with a CIPP lining. So typically the only way to eliminate a sag in a pipe is with an open trench full replacement of that pipe. So we look at these on a case-by-case basis. Some of the sags we can work with, and others we're taking risks with potential backups due to the sag if it's bad enough. So the next slide we'll look at based on our most recent data analysis, which includes inspections through January of 2021. This is similar to the last slide, but you can see the new column there for expected prevalence. So these are projections that we have extrapolated from the data that we're looking at. So it's based on a subset of pipes that we've inspected up till this point, and then we look at this data annually and kind of continually refine the projections that we're making from the data that we have. So you can kind of see what we're looking at. The most common defects that we see are point defects, and we do repair those each year based on severity, and typically with a 2-foot spot repair liner. So we do have a contractor that we work with each year to perform those spot repairs, and we give them a list of pipes we know need that. The root defects you can see are affecting 10% of our pipes, about, at least the ones that we've inspected so far, and that's what we expect system-wide will be about 10% of our pipes will have root defects. Similar thinking there, we manage those with the Root-X herbicide, and then we will perform spot repairs as necessary. And then continuous defects, we're not seeing as many of those, so that's good to see that this is about, based on our latest analysis, 0.8% of the pipes in the system, or 53 pipes is what we expect may need this full CIPP lining. About 15,000 linear feet based on our average pipe lengths that we're seeing those defects on. And then you can see the fourth category is sags and other defects. So we did classify the pipes that are in consideration for open trench replacement projects. We're looking to replace pipes that have bad sags and also other defects first, because then we're able to eliminate those defects at the same time as we eliminate some of our worst sags. So looking at that class, we're looking at about 2.5% of our pipes is our latest projection. So just over 49,000 linear feet, again, based on the average length of our pipes. And then down at the bottom, you can see our 2021 estimates for the total project costs by linear foot for open trench construction or cast in place pipe lining. And this is kind of interesting. It just shows you a comparison to the presentation that I gave last year about this same time. At that time, we were looking at inspection data through January of 2019, and that was based on 963 pipes inspected, or about 15% of the system. So you can kind of see how the projections changed now that we have quite a bit more data. So an additional 2 years worth of inspections, about 700 more inspections, and we're now at 25% of the system inspected. So you can see that the projection for pipes with sags did go down a little bit, with the point defects went up a little bit, and then we did see a decrease also in the projection of pipes with continuous defects. And so we'll continue to revisit this data each year, and as we get more inspections, and better data will refine these projections. But we do use these as guidelines to help us plan for what we'll need to do to the system down the road. And our goals moving forward, so the next steps and goals that we're looking at for 2021 are to complete the inspection of the remaining pipes on that enhanced cleaning list. So we haven't inspected all of those, but we do see quite a bit more defects in those pipes than we do in our non-EC pipes. As an example, looking at sags in particular, we have about 7% of our non-EC pipes have a sag of any sort, and 40% of those EC pipes have sags. So those pipes are concerning, and we're trying to gather that data on those pipes as soon as we can, so we can kind of know what we're looking at there. We know that those are going to be some of our serious problems. The next thing on the list for this year is to refine our hydro cleaning protocols. So we've got some programs in place. One of those is we're revisiting, as we continue to inspect those enhanced cleaning pipes, we are revisiting the frequency that we're cleaning those on. And we found that based on the condition assessment data, some of those can be cleaned less frequently than we've been cleaning them. So we're kind of adjusting that to make sure that we're not cleaning those pipes more than they need to be cleaned, which extends the life of the pipe and also saves time for the hydro cleaning crew if they don't need to be doing some of these monthly. We've adjusted those to every 3 months, some of them twice a year. We're going to continue using the data that we're collecting through the CCTV program to develop our data-driven capital projects. So we have been using that. We do have 4 sewer projects in our 10-year budget right now. And we have 2 CIPP lining projects, and we have 2 gravity main line replacement projects. We also have some budget in the proposed budget that hasn't been approved yet for some unidentified projects that will come out of this analysis. So we are actively looking at this data and attempting to identify other sewer projects that make sense. So that list will change as we continue to do that. And the other big thing that we're working on is to continue refining our inspection priorities. So we've got a couple things that we've used in the past to kind of guide where in the system we are performing inspections. And I had talked a little bit about some of the thinking in past years on the page with the map. But one of the things we're doing is working with the city and other local partners who are doing construction work to make sure that if they have a project planned and they're going to be tearing up the road, we can get out there ahead of them and inspect those lines and see if there's any work that we may need to do while they're doing that, or get in there before they do that, so we can avoid tearing up new asphalt. The other focus that we've talked about lately is that we are kind of doubling down on looking for our sources of I&I. So we have a sewer flow monitoring program that's helping us do that, and we're kind of using the inspections in conjunction with that to see if we can find some of these issues and eliminate those sources of inflow and infiltration. So that's kind of an update on where we are now. Are there any questions? And if anyone's interested in more data on the different kinds of defects we've seen, I do have slides with additional analysis into each type.
Question for the sags that you're finding. Have you ascertained, I guess, what is the typical cause of these sags? Was it original installation or some sort of settlement, or what's going on?
We haven't done a lot of analysis on that, and we haven't done a lot of replacement on these pipes yet either. So as we get into some of these replacement projects that we have identified, I'm hoping that will provide us more data on what might have caused that. But as of right now, it's typically we're seeing sags in our AC pipes, and most of them were installed in the 1960s. So they are very old pipes. but we just haven't had eyes on enough of those sags in particular to kind of get a consensus for what might be causing that.
I think we can say they were installed very flat to begin with. So
Yes.
they've always been in a sag situation, or there's been some settlement that caused them to cause a sag in the future because of settlement.
And the key reason that they're a problem is you're getting sediment dropping out in those sags, or what? Because inverted siphons are not that big of a problem, but why are they a problem here?
The most concerning part about the worst of them is that we're seeing that they're causing backups. So most of the worst sags are on our enhanced cleaning list for that reason. That, yeah, we're having settled deposits and different things that kind of get stuck in the bottom of the sag, and we're seeing that it is causing a backup in those lines. So we try to keep those clean, but most of the sags that are less severe, we're kind of just keeping an eye on those. We're tracking where they're at, but they don't necessarily cause big problems. And that's part of the reason why the pipes that we're looking at actually replacing, we're looking for pipes that have sags and other problems, whether those are cracks or holes or things like that, that would require extensive spot repairs. So we're looking at where we can eliminate sags and also address some of these other problems.
May I jump in for a second? This is Steve Caswell, principal engineer. One of the other things with sags, Dave, is that like we've just replaced the sewer line on Apache, and that had a bunch of sags in it. And what we had seen in that pipe is that the bottom of the pipe, because it's in that, it's got the sediment in there and it goes anaerobic, that it had really, well, basically the bottom of the pipe had been eaten away. And so that's what Ryan means by sags and other defects. So if it's just a sag, but the pipe is fully intact, we're just monitoring those. But if it's a sag and there's an issue with the integrity of the pipe, those are the ones that we are really trying to focus on.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions?
I guess I had a question. So it sounds like you're most concerned with infiltration, or basically stormwater getting into the system. Or is there any mechanism to understand any kind of exfiltration from our sewer system?
We have seen, typically, I mean, we have found pipes that are missing the bottom on them or things like that, but we haven't specifically looked, as far as I know, at exfiltration, and I don't know that we've seen a large scale issues with that, but I don't know that we've looked particularly closely at that at this point.
And then just a quick question on, I guess some of the sewer systems that are making their way through meadows or like low grade, or I guess the lower elevation points in the basin. Do you also look at the integrity of the collars and some of those other potential issues of infiltration during high water years?
We do have a program that we're really trying to ramp up, and that's our manhole condition assessment program. And so the latest thinking that we have looking at what we're seeing is that the manholes are a serious contributor to our I&I issues, probably more so than the pipes themselves being leaky. And like you said, out in the meadows, those are where we're most concerned. So we are actively assessing our manholes, and so there may be additional projects coming out of that as well. But that's also been the thinking that's come from our underground repair sewer crew, is that they believe that we have quite a few manholes that have serious problems when the water level is high. Some of those manholes out in the meadows we've actually seen become submerged during that time. So
Thank you, Ryan.
Yep. I was just gonna say that program will be a big contributor, I think, I hope, to addressing some of those I&I issues that we're seeing.
Shannon, I would add, of course, we're concerned about I&I, but we also want to identify problems so we can extend the life of our assets before they fail.
Absolutely.
Oh, good job on the presentation. I appreciate the information.
Thank you. Any other questions? And I can make this slideshow available to anyone who's interested in that as well.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, unless there's anything else, let's adjourn this meeting.